Yeah, yeah.
I got 6:30. Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the Pennsylvania County Fire and Rescue Commission to order Thursday, August 17th, 2023, 6:30 p.m., 39 Bank Street, Chatham, Virginia, 24531. Have a roll call, please.
James Holly,
Here.
Ben Meeks,
I am present. I am calling in tonight via phone, participating in the meeting via phone due to illness.
Alan Casper,
Present.
Ward Rowland, Tim Cassell, Brian Shields,
Here.
Kermit King,
Here.
Steve Stallings, Coleman Mayhew,
Here.
Bert Sellers,
Here.
Steve was going to call in. Steve Stallings said he was going to try to call in. He's in Tennessee, I think.
Okay. Did y'all know anything about it? Chairman Meeks, did you know anything about Steve Stallings calling in?
No, sir. He notified me 2 days ago that he was out of town. I believe he said he was on business, but he just said he would not be at the meeting. He didn't say anything about calling in.
Okay.
Yeah, I've talked to him after the fact, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. If you would, have a moment of silence, please. All right. Pledge allegiance. Stand with me. Commissioners, if you would, take a moment to look over your packets, see if it's any additions to the agenda. Any additions to the agenda? All right. With that being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All right. Ready for a vote?
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Kermit King,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right, moving down to the minutes. The last time we met was in June. Everybody had a chance to look over the minutes in the packet, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes with no corrections or additions to it.
I'll make a motion, accepting. Second.
All right, been motion and second. Ready for vote?
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Kermit King,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
All right. Do we have any presentations listed for tonight?
No presentations.
Okay. All right. Hearing of the citizens. Anybody signed up to speak?
No, sir, no one's on
Okay. Which brings us down to Chief Fowler, Fire and Rescue Association report.
I don't have one thing, and I'll hold it till we get to that.
Okay. All right. The county staff report, Director Key.
Yes, sir. The ATL funding, we should receive it in September, October. That is for the fire side. So that'll be, packets will be put together and sent out so everybody can have. Four for Life funding, that's for the EMS side. Those packets have been passed out to each agency, and they're due back in March for turning in for all EMS, well, for EMS expenses. We've only got one roster left out. Expenditure reports, we're down to 4 expenditure reports. I've talked to most of them about getting them turned in. Training, the active shooter exercise on July 31st was a great accomplishment by this county, by all the departments involved. Was able to take the sheriff's department and about 6 or 7 fire and rescue agencies and do a complete active shooter drill. Minor stuff that we need to work on, but we're going to continue this training. We actually met yesterday for our final debriefing, and we'll start in October to meet for next year's training. So we're going to move that around the county. We will continue to offer the rescue task force training to departments as we move around the county. Also, we've got 2 firefighter 1 classes starting up. One will be in Gretna, one will be at Blair's. We've got an EVOC class, and we've also got a vehicle extrication class coming up. I was contacted the other day by one of the solar farm projects. They're going to be getting with Climax Fire Department to do a solar farm training for them. So that will be open up to everyone also. June 23rd, we had the VFIS insurance come in, and they did a risk control survey. We visited 4 stations: Chatham Fire Department, Blair's Fire and Rescue, Tunstall Fire and Rescue, and Mount Cross Fire Department. They attached the report. I attached it to the packet so everybody can review that. Just minor little things they made suggestions on. Continue to put smoke detectors in the fire stations, offer protection around fuel pumps so they don't get ran into. Basically, that was the bulk of it. I've got to finish my report and send it back by the end of this month. And then last, I'd like to welcome Jason Curtis as a new hazmat officer for VDM Region 3. He is located in our region, which is Region 6, but he'll also be serving 3 and 6. So I think he retired from the City of Danville Fire Department and moved to VDM, and just started like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
That's it, sir.
Just a couple of questions. I was reading through the insurance packet, and one of the recommendations was I guess drivers having medical clearance. I mean, I'm not trying to. I know everything is still up in the air, but is it any?
There's no funding available right now. Hopefully, we can get that into next year's budget to where we can start that process.
I mean, is that leaning toward the entry level coming in, or just to drive, or how?
No, they wanted continuous physicals. So they had a recommendation of age, based on age was
Yeah.
how many years in between each physicals. So they actually asked for that. I told them that we didn't have funding available this year. Hopefully we can start it next year.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Director Key?
Any other questions y'all had?
Y'all got any questions for Director Key on the insurance? All right. Next be unfinished business. We got any unfinished business that we need to take care of before we move on to new business? None that I can think of, so. All right, we're moving on to new business. The Board of Supervisors communication. Supervisor Ingram.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. It's been relatively quiet, and so I don't have a whole lot to talk about, but when we go into closed session, I'll sort of tag team with Director Key over here. And as far as the Fire and Rescue Memorial Project, when Ben comes in on that, I'll talk on that as well. But I don't have a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next thing is the Fire and Rescue Service Agreement, and Chairperson Meeks was going to discuss that some, but I'm going to kind of kick that to Chief Fowler and Director Key if y'all want to kind of elaborate a little bit on the new service, just to catch these guys up to date, because it's been put in and we didn't meet. If y'all could help us out a little bit. I think y'all two probably work more with it than anybody.
Yeah,
I don't mean to put y'all on the spot, but y'all,
The agreement was brought up at the board meeting and approved in July and presented out to all the agencies July 21st, I think is when I sent it out. There were a few changes in section B8, A, B, and C, and also section B9.
right now, what you said about 9?
Yes, sir. In the service agreement, I attached that into the packet. If you looked on page 3 of 7,
Yeah.
section 8, A, B, and C, and section 9.
Mr. Chairman, this was discussed, item 9 was discussed at the Fire Rescue Association meeting last night. If you'll read that, it's requesting that complaints for agencies be sent to the Public Safety Director within 48 hours. And the overwhelming concern was that a lot of these complaints have already had hearings before the chief or the captain of the organizations, even though it's been a complaint made. And they asked that within 48 hours of a complaint being made, that the Public Safety Director forward that to the chief or the captain of a rescue squad and allow them to investigate and see if they can work a resolution before it goes to all of the powers to be with the county government.
Okay. Chief Fowler, I kind of read through this a little bit too, and I kind of agree with that. I hate to see the squads get kind of blindsided, and they've already decided the fate of the member, and the chief or the captain don't know about it. That's just my thoughts on it. You guys got any input?
So are these complaints against an individual on the department, or is this a complaint from a patient or a family member, or is this, what kind of complaints are we talking about?
According to the way it reads, it's any complaint.
I would say that if it's a complaint filed, that it would have to go through
Well,
the
and
department, through the chief.
according to the way I understand the regulations for EMS, the complaint's filed and it's handled by the Office of EMS, the agency's OMD, and the agency. I don't know where it got construed to go to everybody else. I understand that the skin in the game for Pittsylvania County and they having concern and want to be notified. But the other side of the coin, I think all of the burden to bear is the agency, the person that the complaint is against, and the OMD to make a decision of what's going to happen.
So,
But that being said, I don't think any agency has any problem with dealing with a complaint. But the other side of the coin, I think they would like to know and they would like to deal with it. Several of the agencies brought it up last night. It had already been a hearing by the Office of EMS before they knew about it. And that's documented with the state. I'm not speaking out of turn.
How has this been handled in the past, Dean?
Say that again.
Complaints, how have these complaints been handled in the past?
In the past, I mean, it's been that the agency was notified and worked through the Office of EMS and through the Public Safety Director to get it resolved.
All right, who decided to change it? I mean, where did the
I
change
can't
come
answer
from?
that question.
Mr. Key, can you answer that? Come from the board.
And I will say this, in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ingram's here, some of the others has been here, the service agreement has always been addressed in May. The Fire and Rescue, or excuse me, the Public Safety and the Board of Supervisors made their recommendations or requests, send it back to Public Safety. Public Safety brought it to the Fire and Rescue Association, who in turn sent it to you all and forwarded it to the Board of Supervisors. This was sent out to the agencies July the 21st.
How much time? You say the board approved this, Mr. Key?
Yes, sir.
Did we have any knowledge of it happening before it happened?
I believe so.
No, we didn't meet in July.
You'd have thought it came to us maybe and let us have a little input in it before the board voted on it. I'm not sure how that didn't happen.
so was the concern dealing with the fact that the county insures these agencies? Is that part of the concern?
Hey, if I could speak, please. Can everybody hear me?
Chairman Meeks, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. So to answer a little bit of the confusion, not that I'm going to be much help because I've been just as confused with this service agreement since it got dropped on us like it did. But to answer Commissioner Coleman Mayhew's question there at the very end real quick, I think the concern was to change the verbiage in here as far as the notifying the county, was just so the county wouldn't get caught off guard anymore with agencies that they essentially contract with to handle their EMS in the county, which I, along with Dean and I think all the other EMS agencies in the county, agree that's fair. You know, if they're going to help fund us, we don't mind notifying them when an issue occurs. The problem is we have an agreement with our OMD, an OMD agreement that has to be signed and put on our EMS portal, and then we deal with the Office of EMS, we deal with Western Virginia EMS protocols and their board, and we deal with the Public Safety Director as needed. So I do agree that it's not fair, or I don't know if it's correct words to say not fair, but the way this is wrote out in the service agreement right now, you know, we're supposed to notify Director Key within 48 hours. Well, a lot of the complaints that supposedly have been made in the past, someone may have contacted Director Key directly without calling us. So one, I think the agency itself needs to be the first and foremost to be notified, because they have their own boards, they have their own OMD agreement that they have to abide by, their own rules and regulations and protocol, Western Virginia EMS protocols that they have to follow, and all that stuff has to be done and documented to keep their EMS license. So other than the fact of just notifying the county that there's been an issue and is being investigated, this whole thing about the county director, the county administrator, county attorney, public safety director, the volunteer agencies OMD and or VOEMS shall investigate the legitimacy of it. I mean, are they going to sit down and have a team meeting, and is the department going to be allowed to be at that when they do this said investigation or meeting? I have a lot of questions and concerns with the way that's wrote up, because there's already things in already put in. This was thought of long ago before ever now with this service agreement. The Office of EMS has been tracking issues and complaints for years because they take that very seriously. And also, as far as Mr. Sellers, to your point, we did not have a meeting last month. However, I was never told as the chairman, and Vice Chair, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you were either, that there would be any changes to the service agreement. That's why we hadn't brought it up. I assumed it was staying the same because actually the majority of our EMS and fire agencies had increased their call coverage. And all I's were dotted and T's was crossed. We still had to submit a 990. We were submitting this paperwork, expenditure report, income and expenditure report. Now we're going to supposedly be doing audits or whatever that's going to be now. It was just kind of threw on our lap, and it was approved through consent agenda. Wasn't even discussed at the board meeting. And quite frankly, it was just a slap in the face to the Fire and Rescue Commission. I sent an email to several board members and several employees of the county, including the county attorney and the county administrator, asking for explanation. Once I found out after the fact that the agreement had been changed, why wasn't we at least given the privilege to discuss it, since that's the whole purpose of the commission, is to, help make decisions for the Board of Supervisors. Ultimately they get the final say-so, and I'll live by that. I'm fine with that. I respect that they're elected, and that's democracy. But they asked us to sit on this commission and to see, issues that's before us or issues that may come, and to try to work through those issues when it comes to funding, when it comes to even complaints, or when it comes to, SOPs, anything like that. We work with the association and ourselves and be a liaison between the volunteer departments and the board. And of course, Director Key does his part. And, we all work together to make one big fire and rescue response team for the Board of Supervisors. And we was just completely left out of this. And I say we, I mean the association, all the volunteer agencies, and I think the only people that knew was public safety and the Board of Supervisors. I mean, I don't think anybody else knew that a change was coming or was even happened until it was done. So that's just my 2 cents on it. I just wanted to throw that out there while you guys were talking.
I would like to comment one thing. It's talking about the audit that the fire department's having to go through. Last year, we decided that we wasn't going to do the audits. There was no need for the audits. Every time the wind blows a different way at the Board of Supervisors and the powers that be change hands and the consensus changes on the Board of Supervisors, they do what they want to do and force their regulations on us, and we don't get a say in it. And I feel like this audit that they are making us do now, 2 years, it hadn't been needed for 40 years, and all of a sudden 2 years ago it was needed. Then they voted against it, it wasn't needed, and now it's needed again. I say it's not needed. That's my personal opinion, but the Board of Supervisors, if the vote changes up at 4-3 again, the way it usually does, it may get voted back out next year. I mean, make up your mind and stay with it. But it was good for 40 years, it should be good today. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sellers. Thank you, Chairman Meeks. Now we'll yield the floor to our county administrator. He's been waiting patiently.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. Let me see if I can clarify a few things. First of all, the process you talked about. I'm sorry if it feels like this has been brought on you at the last minute. I'm new. I've only been here 4 months, so I'm just learning the process myself. So I take some responsibility for that. However, I understand there was a different process last year with the OOP that he worked the annual service agreement up through y'all, and then it came to the board. There's a different process that my board wants this year, and obviously I answer to them. This is the process they want this year. Mr. Slimp left. Also, that's part of the issue. But I do take some responsibility for the lateness of it. I'm new. I was unfamiliar with this process. We had the OMD situation that really was very serious, that we dropped everything, and I felt we really came together and pulled that through. I know I spent many sleepless nights on that. I know many of y'all did as well. So we pulled ourselves through that. The process, you're right, the process could be better. We should have approached you earlier. I'm sorry for that. Again, I take some responsibility. I think last year you had Mr. Slimp, and he was familiar. Things moved earlier, okay, as to the process. So, but we're here now. The board has told me that this is the agreement they want. I'll be straight up with you. I understand there's new elements, the audit and the complaint system. So let me try to address a couple of those. The audit, why are they requiring audit? I can't speak for the board. As a professional administrator who's worked in 5 municipalities, nobody's really interested in digging into your finances or knowing your donors or anything like that. We just want to know everything's okay. I came from North Topsail Beach as the town manager. The first week I was there was a major embezzlement in the fire department and just blew up across North Carolina. There's certain requirements when dispersing taxpayer dollars. There's an expectation that it's being managed professionally as certified by CPA. We are audited. They call me to account. The auditors pull me in, grill me about all my expenses, want to know every receipt on my credit card is justified to the penny. This is taxpayer dollar. That's all. I think they're interested. They're not interested in digging into your finances. They just want this letter that certifies that everything's okay. Secondly, I believe it's just a professional best practice for anybody holding taxpayer money. The IRS could call any of y'all at any moment and demand an audit, and if you don't have one ready, that raises a lot of red flags. I don't think anybody's interested in digging into what you're doing. I don't think that's the intent on that. It's just, is everything okay as certified by a accountant's letter? It's just the letter we're interested in, that the accountant says, we've looked at this and everything's fine. That's all we need to know, okay? So, and I've talked to enough agencies to know many of them say that's reasonable. We were just worried that you tried to figure out who our donors were, and that's confidential. We respect that. We're not interested in that. Let's move on to the complaints. I just think that a lot of these complaints, I hear you, sir, about the professional way that complaints should be managed. We respect that. I just think we hear so many things on the street and through social media and Facebook. There needs to be a more professional way internally that we can just sit down and discuss things. Nobody's interested in writing in and penalizing you. We just want to know internally and professionally and not through the grapevine and hear it on the street. Isn't that a better way so that we just take care of it in-house? I think it's a more professional way to manage the business. I've spoken to Mr. Key, and you guys do amazing work. You've had 18,000 calls in the last 2 years, and I think we have 7 written complaints. Think about that statistically. That's a lot of good work that you've done with not tremendous number of complaints. It's just that the few complaints that hit the street create this public outcry. Okay? So I think that's all they're after. Let's sit down, and if you can send the complaints to us, we'll keep them confidential and keep it in-house and not on social media. I think that's just a more professional way to handle it. Okay? I think that's it.
I think that's what they were, they were trying to say is that and I'm going to, excuse me, Chief Fowler, I always use you because you're sitting right here looking at me. But as you and Chief Neal over there have a complaint, you shouldn't hear about it on social media. It should come from one of you guys to him.
Yes, sir.
And that I totally agree with.
And then the way it's written, we would then meet with one of you, the chief or whoever, and just work it out. See if it's been handled. Put it to rest.
Mm-hmm.
put it to rest that way.
That's the request, that it get worked out with the fire chief.
The way it's worded is that,
I
let's
hadn't
just
read
read it real
anything in
quickly.
that that says it'll come back to the fire chief or the EMS captain.
Well, the way it's worded is within 48 hours, the complaint comes to the safety director, which would come to me. Within 30 days of receipt of complaint, the county administrator will investigate the legitimacy of the merit of the complaint. So the only way we can do that is meet with who's ever involved. There's no other way.
Because there's examples out there that that's not the way it was handled.
Okay. Let me just say,
And it's on social media, and it wasn't put on by a fireman.
okay, I can't go back and speak to the past. I'm here now. We all have the same goal. I've heard you speak, sir. We all need a professional, trained person on scene within 8 minutes to deliver excellent professional pre-hospital care. That is all we're interested in. And if you guys can do that, you save us money, you are community-minded, you're the community backbone, I'm with you. I'll help you. But these things going out in social media are not productive. So that's what they're after. Okay? Anything else?
Any questions for our county administrator? Supervisor Ingram.
I would just like to say that I appreciate the county administrator speaking tonight, and I agree with him. We all need to be on the same page. However, I think that's the concern from some of us is we all are not on the same page or have the same goal. We just want to make sure that the citizens have fire and rescue coverage, but as well as our fire and rescue departments that do put up so much of their time and own funding, not provided by the county, they go out and fundraise it themselves. They have their fair chance to speak when it comes down to a complaint or problem. Because I can tell you right now, as well as Director Key and probably yourself that's reviewed a lot of the complaints supposedly that's out there, they're not justified. They're not bona fide. They're just people upset. And the department was found in no wrong. Now, am I saying that everybody's perfect and there's opportunities for us out there to never make an improvement with patient care or an improvement with our SOPs? Absolutely not. We're human beings. I would be naive to say that. But to say that we have malice providers going out and doing bad things, as some of the board members, or at least one, continues to post on their Facebook saying that we need to go look at all these departments and the complaints and investigations they've gotten, that's just not true. And it's not fair, and that's why we're concerned this agreement here is going to be detrimental to our departments with the way it's going to be reported. And I completely agree that you guys should be made aware that there's a problem. But I don't understand, if you, sir, with all due respect, a whole lot smarter than I am, got a college degree, a whole lot higher than me, but I know EMS, just being fair. And, I do it all the time. I don't know how much you do EMS. So how are you going to investigate a complaint on an EMS provider? They gave such and such med wrong, or didn't waste correctly, or didn't use due regard, or didn't do this, or didn't secure a patient right. Where's the I think Chief Fowler and the association last night with their request and with what's being discussed today, we're just asking, do we need to fine tune? And again, I say, do we? I mean, we can hoop and holler all we want. It's up to the board if they want to approve it or not. But, is there need to be a little bit better wording here with number 9 dealing with the complaints? I don't think anybody's arguing with the transparency with the funding.
Right. May I clarify that one? So I thought more that it is a statement about complaints. What does that mean? And we met and discussed that. All it means is it's just any complaint that affects the professional delivery of public safety services. We're not interested in if you cook in chowder that's too hot and somebody complains about they burn their mouth. or somebody's shirt tail was out. We're talking about real complaints that affect the professional delivery of public safety service. We just want to know before it hits the street. I think that's a courtesy that my board deserves. I will not make any decision. Yes, sir, I'm not trained as an EMS. We'll work it out together with trained professionals. I think that's what they envision. I'm certainly not going to pass a judgment on EMS. I'm not a trained EMS provider. The other thing is I want to take this opportunity. I'm not sure how things got to the state, but this is a partnership, folks. You guys are out there running calls, saving lives, and we're providing administrative support. We just want to know what's going on. That's all this is about. We don't want to be in the dark. We want to know. We don't want to hear it through the grapevine, okay? That's all. And I'm not going to be making any EMS judgment myself. We just deal with it professionally, internally, and then we'll see where that goes.
Mr. Chairman, I think the association would be in agreement that if the county administrator is going to handle it like he just explained, and I'll use my department, if Blair's has a complaint that they receive, he's going to contact me and say, let's sit down and talk about it. I think that's a fair way to handle it. And I think that'll meet the request from the Fire and Rescue Association's motion last night.
Okay. Supervisor Ingram, you was waiting to speak.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Let's just be blunt. It's politics. You know, when the OMD issue came up, you know, it disturbed all of us. And so in looking into that, the question came up as to why this OMD dropped 8 departments. And we were given different responses. And then along came complaints about respective departments. And I'm going to be like Mr. Terrell. I'm going to apologize, but some of this was handled in closed session. And contrary to what somebody might say, I'm not going to go out and talk about it and put it on social media. And so likewise, when I saw these complaints on social media by a colleague, it was despicable. So in the midst of our conversation, well, how do we handle these complaints? And a couple of them were pretty significant, but they were complaints. They were unfounded. So in essence, it was a combination of trying to work out how we would be notified. And Mr. Key would take the lead on that. I guess that's probably a fair way of saying it, but the county attorney drew up some verbiage, and that's sort of how we handled that. So I apologize that we're even having this conversation, but I do agree if it's something of significance, the Board of Supervisors needs to know about it. But that is different from this audit argument that we continue to have. And I was against the audits, and I made the comment that if you want to audit every department, man up and audit every one of them. It's 21 of them. But this business of pulling 2 from a rabbit's hat and hitting 2 at random, that's not integrity. That's, as I said before, I think that's sort of like harassment. I have so much faith in you guys, your leadership, your command staff, and your board of directors that you know how to manage a department because you've been doing it since the beginning. So if the county allocates funds and we pay you for your fuel and your heating expenses and your insurance and other stuff, you guys give us documents to support that. And it's well accounted for. And going past that, when you talk about audits, the majority of these departments, and I'm thinking all of them, they do an audit. And so that was my belief. Instead of trying to get a separate standalone audit, accept what you guys are already doing, and just send us a letter by way of your CPA that says, I've audited the books and they look good. Because there's some of you in here that knows this, but yes, there has been phone calls from a CPA wanting a donor list. And I'm as adamant now as I was back then. It is nobody's business who gives you money It's between the donor and the recipient. And I can't understand why anybody would continue to want to know what departments have. It was once said, well, so-and-so has $1 million in the bank. Listen, you're doing good to buy one fire truck with that amount of money. You guys know that. So, to protect the departments, to protect the donors, I'm grateful that our board collectively said, hey, okay, we'll accept that letter. But again, I want to draw a big line between these complaints and the audit process. Now, as far as the complaints, I'd have to go back and look at the verbiage on that because there was some discussion about that. But I just felt like only significant complaints, and when I say that, something that could jeopardize the integrity of that department or criminal complaints, whether it be a misdemeanor or a felony, that's what we needed to know about. And nothing was said about wrecking a fire truck on an ambulance. I think we need to know about that. But anyway, I hope that sort of answers some of the questions. But, I have appealed to people not put stuff on social media. Listen, I love social media because I love people. But there's stuff you put on there and there's stuff you don't put on there. And when there's a complaint about a respective department or member that should be handled internally, you should never put it on social media. And you should never have an ally doing FOIAs to get that information that subsequently will be put out somewhere. You guys deserve better than that. Until the end of my time, whenever that comes up, I'm going to fight like hell for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Ingram. Mr. Terrell, I'll agree, and I think these other two guys agree that we got to do a better job of communicating with each other and not putting our business out in the street. I think that's the biggest rub we got right now. You shouldn't hear about it from us in the street, and we shouldn't hear about it from you in the street.
Yeah.
That's just, that's just the way I look at it.
Let's deal with it straight up internally.
That's right.
And handle it.
That's right. If you got a problem, if we got a complaint with the department, we should be adult enough people that we can sit down and fix this complaint without having to see it on social media.
Okay.
Commissioner Casper.
Well, and I absolutely agree that it is a cooperative effort between all of us because we are here for the same reason. And as we said, the way this was handled was not a cooperative endeavor. It's a two-way street. And when I think everybody needs to treat everybody with respect, and just dropping this on us the way it was, that is not respectful. And I hope going forward that, because again, to me, whether it's the volunteer agencies, the county, the public safety, we're all here for the same reason. We're all here to serve our citizens.
Right.
And and I love working with all these guys. It doesn't matter whether you do it as a volunteer or whether you draw a paycheck for it. I love working with all of them. But it's about respect. And this does need to go, respect, it does need to go both ways. That's all.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? Thank you,
I just
Mr.
want to say,
Chair.
thank you to, I just want to say thank you to Vic for what he said, and also Commissioner Casper for what he just said. And just so the public knows that's watching and listening, I have no issues at all with the county, which is a stakeholder as well in this, obviously because they give us taxpayer funding and we're a team here, and knowing when an issue is come about. But I just want the community and taxpayers to know that, up until July 21st or whenever it was when Chris Key sent this new agreement out, that wasn't the first time ever there was any kind of reporting system or accountability for any kind of complaints or stuff like that. That there for a long time, for years and years and years, we've always had ways that we deal with this, that the State Office of EMS, they are involved, Western Virginia EMS is involved, our OMDs is involved, our local hospitals, even our director, our chiefs of our departments, our boards, our training officers. So, I mean, I don't want the community to think that we just have let people run rampant up until we got this service agreement. I do agree that we need to be more transparent with the board and county, and the county and board needs to be more transparent with the volunteer agencies. We'll all accomplish the same goal, but it's just because we got this new agreement doesn't mean that issues in the past have never been taken care of correctly. They absolutely 100% have. That's part of having your EMS license. That's part of having an OMD. Because if you didn't, your OMD would just drop you. If you didn't report issues and concerns and they found out about it third party, they would just drop you. If you had issues and complaints to OEMS and you didn't answer when they come calling, they would just pull your license. Just like Western Virginia EMS would just wouldn't allow you to have drug boxes or participate. I mean, it's been things in place. But as far as with the county, I do agree. Hopefully, we can nurture a better relationship between the departments. And that was the whole goal of this commission being formed, was to be a liaison between the volunteer agencies, working with the association and working with the boards and being a go-between of what's needed and what we actually, not what's a want, but what's a need to take care of our citizens. And I just feel like if we got back to doing that and everything being, up in front, we would be okay. That's all I got to say, Vice Chair, and thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Supervisor Vick, you had something else?
Yes, sir, just a couple more things. I identify my deficiency, and I'm not making excuses, but when you go into closed session and we talk about things, you just can't come out and discuss it freely. So I think moving forward, to enhance the position that I currently hold, is that I need to discuss with the board a more tighter working relationship with Director Key and come back to you guys and accent on that. Not throwing him under the bus and not trying to jump under it myself. But I think that's one thing that we could do where we would sort of clear up some of this. And I do want to identify my colleague, Mr. Tucker, who is thoughtful enough to be here tonight. And I will also add that he's not on social media. So let's get that straight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I was waiting to do it, but thank you, Supervisor Tucker and his wife. Thank you for coming too with you.
Just as a final comment, so we all have the same goal. And now my board has told me this repeatedly, Stuart, we want to keep the citizens safe. We have the same goal. Can we use this, the OMD, we overcame that. We worked together, found a solution. Can we use this as an opportunity to improve communication? Okay, I'm sorry for the delay. I was new here late. It was inopportune that the OOP left at that point, so it fell through the crack a little. I apologize. Let's move on. Let's improve our communication. All right? We have the same goal. Keep these people safe. That's why we're a business. I lay awake at night. My board does. Mr. Ingram, I know, does. Worried about that. We all do. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Okay. All right, next thing in the new business is a fire and rescue memorial. That's Chairman Meeks and Supervisor Ingram. I think Chairman Meeks said you was going to take a lead on this.
I certainly will. That is still a work in progress. Looking at some possible suggestions by way of plans. A couple of members that I've yet to hear back from to be part of that. But, it's a total revamp. So if you would just bear with me, we'll have a little bit more definite stuff at the next meeting. I know there was an issue about placement, and that's something else that I'm working through as well. But so bear with me. Next time around, we'll talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll have some concept plans.
Okay, thank you,
sir.
Supervisor Ingram. Fire and EMS billing rates, this was Chairman Meeks and Chief Fowler. Do you have anything to add?
I think Ben has the information on that because I don't have anything to add on.
Okay, Chairman Meeks?
Yes, sir. I was just going to, so I was told, and I'm sorry, I have been sick. I haven't had time to do the research, but I was told that the Medicare allowable billing has been increased And so I just wanted to make sure, I know some time ago, and I know we didn't meet last month, so it seems like it's been forever and a month, but, was the association still working on the EMS and fire billing rates and where we was headed with that direction? Was there any changes that need to be made in the future? Because I know when we first started the commission, and then when it got revamped and we started it a second time, that was one thing that we tried to do was catch our billing rates up, and we've done pretty good at keeping them up to par every year. So I just want to make sure we were reviewing those rates so that we were able to bill, at the fair amount to the citizens and for our departments to try to recoup these funds. So I guess my question is to the president of the association is the association, do they have a committee working on that, or would they like the commission to form a committee, or which direction are we headed with that?
The association still has a committee that's working to get information from surrounding counties so that we'll be in line with what they're doing.
Okay. All right, that sounds good to me. I just wanted to not to get it, left in the shadows and forgot, since it had been so long since we met. That's the only reason I asked for it to be put back on the agenda. But whenever your committees bring you the update, we'll take it then. I appreciate that, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Chief Al, if I remember correct, didn't we say we was gonna look at that like every year just to keep up to speed? When I first got on the commission, I thought we was discussing the billing
Yes, I
rates.
thought we was going to revisit it every October.
Yeah, something. I know we said we was gonna revisit it every year to make sure we was in compliance and we were where we should be for us, the county. Okay. All right. Right now, we're coming to the part of our meeting that we're going into closed session. For those who hadn't been in the closed session, Director Key is going to read us in. There'll be a vote, and when we finish, we'll read us out. And I do want to remind you of the secrecy when we go in closed session. Director Key.
Okay. The Virginia Code legally allows public bodies to enter closed session for the protection of privacy of individuals and personal matters not related to public business. Accordingly, the following closed session is proposed. Legal Authority, Virginia Code, Section 2.2-3711A4. Subject matter is state investigation of EMS agencies for the purpose of discussion of EMS complaints. Recommendation, we'll need a motion, a second, and also a vote, roll call vote, sir.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second.
Okay.
Ready for a vote.
James Holling,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Kermit King,
Yes.
Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
We're in
Okay.
closed session.
We'll adjourn to the room number 2.
Hey, Ben, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay,
Okay.
we're just checking to make sure.
All right.
sir.
If you will you have returned from closed session, Director Key?
All right, I'll read us back in. Be it resolved that at the meeting at the Pennsylvania County Fire and Rescue Commission on August 17th, 2023, the commission hereby certifies by a recorded vote that to the best of each commissioner's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion authorized the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting. If any commissioner believes that there was a departure from the requirements of this act, he shall state prior to the vote indicating the substance of the departure. The statement shall be recorded in the commission minutes. This time we'll take a vote.
Have a motion? We need a motion. Do we need a motion to go back out, to enter back in open session?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion in a second. Okay. Motion in a second. All right, ready for a vote?
James Holly,
Yes.
Ben Meeks,
Yes.
Alan Casper,
Yes.
Ward Rowland, Brian Shields,
Yes.
Coleman Mayhew,
Yes.
Kermit King,
Yes.
Bert Sellers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Now is just down to the other matters from the commissioners. Director Key, you got anything to add?
I'd just like to thank everybody that showed up and participated in the active shooter drill at the Gretna Middle School. To take that many agencies and work as well as we did, I just got to commend everybody that showed up that day. I think we impressed the VDM officials that come down and showed up. Made quite a bit of learning that happened that day, and it worked good. There's obviously room for improvement, but we're obviously going to train on it and continue to try to get better. We hope that anything like this never ever happens, but we want to be prepared if it does. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Rowland? Okay. Commissioner Shields?
As always, I'd like to thank you men and women that serve this county, and to all the fire and EMS and public safety people across this county, thank you.
Commissioner Mayhew?
I'd just like to say thank you to all the citizens for that support, because we couldn't do it without you. We greatly appreciate it.
Commissioner Holly?
Nothing, just,
Commissioner Sellers? Commissioner Casper?
I'd just like to thank all of the members of this commission for the work that they come out and do. And I would also like to thank Mr. Tucker here for coming to our meeting tonight. As I serve the Bannister District on this commission and as a firefighter, it pleases me a lot to see my representative here tonight, and I thank him very much for that.
Supervisor Ingram?
Yes, sir. Likewise, thank my colleague, Mr. Tucker, for being here. Mr. Fox is present. It's always good to see Chief Neal. I'm likewise always grateful for our volunteers. It's, don't have the words. I attended the active shooter drill at Gretna High School, and it was quite impressive, and I was so proud when I left because of the combined effort between police, fire, and rescue, and heaven forbid if we ever have a problem, but I'm thoroughly convinced if we do, we're ready for it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Chief Fowler?
Folks, I'd just like to ask you, I know Chief Neal has got one of his members that's in the fight of his life health-wise. I've got one at Blair's. There's several across the county. I won't call their names. Keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Keep all these men and women in your thoughts and prayers. As we sit here now, I'm sure it's 3 or 4 trucks on the road, and you can't imagine some of the stuff they're dealing with. And not only that, they go back and try to deal with it in their mind, and their family has to deal with it. Keep all of them in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Fowler. Chairman Meeks, I'll be last tonight.
All right. Thank you, Vice Chair. I first want to say that I appreciate you leading the meeting. Done a wonderful job. I would like to thank Daniel Kendrick and his group from the IT department for getting this set up for me to be able to phone in tonight. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. We had to do a little test run today, and it's more than just a phone call. So I appreciate him and Director Key as well for getting everything on the agenda set up, the packets made, and making sure that I was able to call in. Thank you, good Lord, for technology allowing us to do things like this. I would like to thank our volunteer departments, as Chief Fowler just stated. We need to keep them in our prayers. They go through a lot, they see a lot, and most of them are doing it on a day-to-day basis for free, and they have to take it home, and they have to lay down on that stuff that they've seen. And it's real, the hurt and the anxiety that some of that stuff causes. And so if you need help and you're listening, reach out to your volunteer chief, or reach out to your chaplain if you have one. You can reach out to me. I've got resources. Just keep these folks in your prayers. And thank you to all the calls that they answer and run. I'd like to thank our citizens for everything they do to keep us afloat, keep us running. They're good to us. And I'm just glad that we are able to work as a team and hopefully move fire and rescue forward in Pennsylvania County. And that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to echo what Chief Fowler and Chairman Meeks said. Thanks to all our volunteers. Also, thanks to the ones that I got illnesses and injuries going on right now. Several of them out right now, but keep them in your prayers. Also like to thank Supervisor Tucker and his wife for coming out tonight. Mr. Fox, thank you for coming out and being a part of our meeting. Thanks to all the volunteers, some that were here, some's already left. But that's all I got. Anybody got anything else? Meeting adjourned.